Carson Wentz traded to the Indianapolis Colts for a 2021 third-round pick and a second-round pick that can be a 2022 first-round pick if Wentz plays 75% of the snaps this season, or if the Indianapolis Colts make the playoffs and he plays 70% of his snaps. What you think, man?
I think it's hilarious that that DeAndre Hopkins at the top of his game basically got traded for the same amount that Carson Wentz got traded for at the bottom of his game. Like from the Colts, look, it's you could say it might be a brilliant stroke in terms of getting a good look. I understand he stunk. Like, he was terrible last season. He hasn't been particularly good for a little while now. But if you can get him to be serviceable or average or whatever, average, most teams would give up that for an average starting quarterback. So for me, I think it's a solid move for the Colts. They didn't really give up so much that if it doesn't work out, you're set back for years. You know, like look at the Houston Texans. That Laramie Tunsil and the DeAndre Hopkins trade set that franchise back a solid half a decade. Easy. So they didn't give up a whole lot. And if it works out, you look like geniuses. I mean, think about it. The Colts gave up one more pick than the Dolphins gave up for Josh Rosen. For Carson Wentz, who actually had a good season in his career. So, hey, it can end up being a great move for the Colts.
So let me ask your prediction for Carson Wentz in 2021. How do you see him performing?
Man, I will say this much. He will be reunited with the only offensive coordinator that had a good season with him. So with that being said, I mean, look, he still has the potential to be a very good NFL quarterback, like a starting level NFL quarterback. I think what we all know is you can't. Carson Wentz needs a particular system to be effective.
Right.
You just can't do anything with him. You got to find out what works for him. You got to run that system. Kind of like with Lamar Jackson. You got to find a system that works for him, and you got to run that system. And I think Doug Peterson, man, he got a little. I don't know if that Super Bowl win got to his head, thinking that all of a sudden he had all the magical plays that when coaches have a little bit of success and all of a sudden their playbook is written in gold and fairy dust. I think Doug Peterson had a little bit of that syndrome out here running plays that he knows aren't really best designed for Carson Wentz's skill set. And I think Frank Reich will be able to figure that out because he already figured it out once.
Now there is a report that said that Doug Peterson and Carson Wentz didn't speak for a couple of months. So that got me thinking for real. Well, there's no wonder there's a miscommunication as far as play calling and play execution. As far as what led to that, if I'm just predicting, it's gotta have something to do with Jalen Hurts, them drafting him in the second round.
It could be, but I think because Carson Wentz was playing bad before the past season, right? Like,
no, he was decent. He was like what 27-7 or something like that in 2019. So he had some very comparable numbers. They won the division. So
was he? Am I just totally off on Carson Wentz's numbers? Let me take a look real. Yeah, I was under the impression that he did not have a great 2019. But let's take
it was.
He did have a good 2019 actually. Yeah.
Did 27-7, right? 27 TDs,
27-7.
Yeah, 27-7. So yeah, they won the division. They made the playoffs. Unfortunately, he ended up getting hurt in that wild card game against the Seattle Seahawks. Really? I believe it was a concussion. And we fast forward to the draft. Jalen Hurts gets drafted. Personally, if I was Carson Wentz, I would feel a type of way about that. And God, I don't know. It didn't exactly give you particulars as far as how long Doug Peterson and Carson Wentz were speaking, but I feel like that could have been the reason why they weren't talking. Because mind you, he just got a contract extension before the draft.
And then you draft a quarterback.
Right. So
that's a good point. I think to a certain extent, the worst thing that ever happened to Carson Wentz is Nick Foles winning that Super Bowl. I don't know what. That team won the Super Bowl. Everything fell off immediately. It's almost like they were able to hold it together up until the Super Bowl, and once the Super Bowl was over, the whole thing fell apart. Like the whole foundation fell apart. So could it be the stress of having a team that was very successful and not really being that same team and getting those same results, and then drafting Jalen Hurts? All of a sudden, the perception is Carson Wentz is the problem, and let's be honest, Doug Peterson, highly questionable coaching in all season. I'm talking about play calling, substitutions, all that. Highly questionable all last season. So is he, I think it can be said, was there an organizational commitment to Jalen Hurts that they weren't necessarily look at the team and say, we're contending for a Super Bowl this year. Actually, we're not going to say publicly that we want to lose games, but if we happen to lose a handful of games and we happen to have this new cheap quarterback, we may be able to restart our franchise and get off some of these, the Jason Peters contracts of the world, right? So it could have been an organizational commitment that said, not that we're going to sabotage him, but
that's the head scratching part.
We're moving forward without Carson Wentz.
Yeah, that's the head scratching part. If you think about it, like I need to know what was the mindset behind drafting Jalen Hurts after you made the playoffs with Carson Wentz. I understand durability is an issue, but you can go out of free agency and sign a veteran quarterback for what, $5-7 million a year instead of you wasting a draft pick on a second round pick quarterback that could potentially be a starter.
They may have an evaluation on Jalen Hurts that, they may just have him higher than most other people would put him. I mean, I would say I don't think Jalen Hurts' best season would be better than Carson Wentz's best season. Like, I don't think that's going to happen. But